Hello everyone, Scott Luthold here with 4XPEDITION. Welcome back to another episode on our Facebook and YouTube channels. This weekend I'm coming to you from Overland Expo West in Flagstaff, Arizona. Right now I'm about 25 miles south of Flagstaff, off-grid in a really nice forest camp spot. We are right off of Schnebly Hill Road, and I'm waiting for some friends of mine to show up from Phoenix with their own rigs. There's a lot of really cool overland vehicles cruising by on Schnebly Hill here. I'm going to set up my Overland Road Warrior rooftop tent and wait for my friends to show up. I brought the Subaru Outback with me this weekend instead of the other vehicles because this particular vehicle's had a lot of exposure lately, including an expose in Subaru of Russia magazine, and I thought there'd probably be quite a few people at Expo this year that have seen this vehicle and might want to see it firsthand. So we're going to get set up, make some dinner, probably get up tomorrow morning, head into Flagstaff to do a little bit of business and participate in some of the Overland Expo events, and then camp somewhere closer to town tomorrow night, and then spend all day Saturday at Expo, and I'll probably do a little bit of filming of some of the vehicles and equipment that Expo's got this year to share with you. I'll be looking to shop for a few items as well. I'm really excited because I've got all new video production equipment. I bought myself a new iPhone X and a Moment smartphone case, and mounted to that I've got a couple of really nice high-end Moment lenses. I've also got plugged into the bottom of the iPhone a Shure digital stereo microphone, and then I've got some new tripods and things like that. So I'm really hoping to have a much higher quality film production and audio for all the films going forward. So without further ado, we're going to go ahead and get set up here and wait for other friends to arrive and just have a really killer weekend. Take care. Alright, so one of the things I like to do, get yourself one of these bins. And if you look inside here, I've got some pine cones. And what I do is when I'm out somewhere camping and it's really dry, I pick up a whole bunch of pine cones and some other needles and stuff. And the reason I do that is because the next time I go camping, sometimes you get to where you're going to go and it's raining, and all of the kindling and all the fire starter that you might collect out there in the wilderness is going to be wet. So fill your bucket up, and I'm telling you, these dry pine cones, they just catch fire really quick. It's just such an awesome way to make sure that when you get to where you're going next time, you've got plenty of fire starter. It's just one of those things that nobody really thinks about. And this little bin doesn't take up much room, you know, it's pretty small. Right now there's a fire restriction, so I can't burn anything anyway, but there you go. Nice big bin full of pine cones, ready for my next adventure.
How you doing?
Brian's up here for the weekend with me at Overland Expo.
Yes.
Talking a little bit about this radio that he picked up that he said he's going to get me one of.
Baofeng, $25.
It's a ham radio?
Ham radio, yep. So I have right now the local NRA frequency programmed into the device.
Okay.
And the cool thing is I also have local fire
Okay.
and local Flagstaff services in here. So I'm not sure if we'll pick any of them up, but if we do a scan on that, we'll see what we end up getting.
So this has a range of about how far?
A handful of miles, 2-3 miles.
And if you have two of them, you can communicate with
You
one another?
can.
But you're allowed to or no?
Yes, we are allowed to communicate over the FRS and GMRS frequencies, I believe they are.
Okay.
So, yep, we absolutely can.
Only certain frequencies?
Only certain frequencies, yeah.
It's a ham radio.
Exactly, and you do not want to be transmitting on any of those other frequencies that are not you're not certified on, i.e. the non-FMRS or GMRS.
Okay. And you got this on Amazon?
$25.
$25.
Yep.
Everybody should have one of these, right,
Yeah.
for security?
Oh, I think so. It's got a 5-watt transmitter in it and a lithium-ion battery, and you know, if you lose it, you're not going to be mad.
Yeah, it's only only $25 if it breaks or whatever. It's not a big deal.
Not at all.
But you can use this to get weather reports,
anything
fire.
you need. Anything you need. And there's software that you can program it. You can download it from the manufacturer's website.
Okay.
Really, I'm not a ham radio operator, but it didn't take very long for me to figure this thing out.
Right, right.
So I just respect it. And by the way, I did find out I do have some of the local repeaters in for the ham operators that they'll use.
Did you program that in there?
I did. And you and I, in an emergency situation, my understanding is if you transmit on those, if you're in an emergency situation, they pick you up, they're obligated to write down information and share that with the authorities. So
okay.
Worth knowing.
So what do you, if you had a problem, you're out in the wilderness and you got on this thing, is there certain things you're supposed to say?
I would think at that point in time you're probably pretty panicked, so my guess would be you can say whatever you want. I think you just get in there. You and I are not trained. We don't have licenses for ham radio. I know my buddy does, but I'm not taking any of those tests. But when your cell phone doesn't work, it's better than nothing.
Gotcha.
Partly cloudy. Highs around 72. Light winds.
$29 whiskey.
And there we go. They say beer before liquor, never sicker.
Yep. There you go.
That's not enough, is it?
We might have to go get more.
Woot! So that's Noodles. Say hi to Noodles. Noodles is a badass right there. All right, folks, here we are at Overland Expo. Just waiting to get in. There's a pretty long line. It's only not even 8 o'clock in the morning on Friday. I decided to come on Friday this year instead of Saturday because Saturdays are usually pretty packed, but there's actually a pretty serious line to get in already. The campground's pretty full. There's some pretty awesome expedition vehicles just sitting here waiting to get in. And we'll check in with you in just a little bit once we get parked. I'm going to put out some stickers and things on my Subaru so people can take those with them when they come around and see my vehicle. And we're pretty excited. Brian's behind me in his vehicle, and I've got my friend Aaron's coming up tomorrow with his Jeep and turtleback trailer, so we'll be having a pretty nice little party up here in the forest. So anyway, we'll check back in with you in just a little bit. Global Expedition vehicles. Got a pretty sweet setup here with a hammock on the back. So these are man trucks. These are often used for garbage collecting. These are trash trucks. And if you look, this one's actually got a pop out over here.
I see that, yeah.
I'm gonna climb up there just for a sec.
I actually have one for my tooth cutting knife. It's a 6x6.
This thing's massive. Typical RV interior on this one. I've seen some that are actually quite a bit more custom interior design. But you're up pretty high off the ground. Self-inflating tires. Those are probably 395 85 20s. The headlights are almost as tall as I am. There's the military one back there. Here we are at the iCamper booth, and some interesting things going on with iCamper. First of all, they've got something that has a new tent print. And one interesting development that they've had this year is that they've actually launched a 2-person rooftop tent, whereas mine's a 4-person. I've heard that the pricing isn't too much different though. Mine is actually pretty large, so if you wanted to put mine on top of an expedition trailer, it's a little bit big for that. It's actually a little big for my Subaru as well. It's nice to have the extra room, but the smaller one's actually a little more versatile. So I've been coming to Expo for probably 9 years, as I've said before, and it's definitely gotten much larger. You see a lot more vehicles with Overland equipment added to them. Just looking over here, there's a Subaru Outback right here with a real nice rooftop tent setup. It's got a lift, it's got some nice method wheels, got an awning, refrigerator in the back, got a shower. Looks pretty good. I like these little grid mounts on the back windows here. That's pretty cool. Looks like he's got an inverter battery box in here. So as I was saying, my big goal now as I consider dumping the Rubicon and adventure trailer and picked up the Subaru, put a rooftop tent on it, my goal is to build a Sprinter 4x4, have the Subaru Outback as a sort of a weekender, and maybe a Sprinter 4x for a longer term travel experience. These vehicles definitely suffice for long-term travel. I took a 9-month road trip back in 2011, as many of you know, and one of the biggest problems I had was finding a place to do my work on my laptop. Whereas if you have a Sprinter van, you've got a Wi-Fi connection, you can pretty much sit anywhere and do your work. Here's another one here. It's got a pretty nice interior on it. I did see a couple other options where there are companies building interior kits that you can just buy the kit from them and install it yourself, counters and bed sets and so forth. In this case, you know, you've got the bed up pretty high, and then you've got a garage down below to put your kayaks and things. I don't do full-size kayaks, as you all knew. I'm a stand-up paddleboarder, but mine's an inflatable stand-up paddleboard, so it compresses down into a pretty nice little backpack. Fits in there perfectly. Put a small foldy bicycle like I've got in there, and all sorts of other great backpacking gear and so forth. So one of the most incredible things I've seen at this expo this year happens to be this absolutely ridiculous Mercedes-Benz Sprinter. This thing has got a freaking enormous lift. It's a 5500. Looks like it's got maybe a 4-inch lift. It's got Toyo MTs. That's what I had on the Rubicon 37 13520s. But this thing is just badass, gigantic, ready to be built out on the inside. But I mean, if I stand up next to this thing, this rear bumper is almost up to my waist. This thing is just, I gotta back up to show you the whole thing. The thing's just insane. We're gonna take a look here at a composting toilet system that's pretty much self-contained. I'm gonna listen into what this lady has to say about it here. It seems pretty cool. I think they were going about $3.99. Come in a couple of different colors. There's orange and purple and green and whatnot.
Okay.
Certainly a lot of things to look at around here. No shortage of cash being spent on these vehicles. but inspiring for me because just got done talking to Rome Built. They make accessories for spinner vans, really amazing stuff. Took a look at the Zen campers. They make a really nice bamboo interior, sort of modular, considering like maybe an agile off-road lift or maybe even a van compass lift. Looking at getting my Sprinter sometime this summer. There's certainly a lot of them here to take a look at. In fact, there's one right there. This is just in the parking lot. There's another one right here. Of course, there's pretty much everything in this parking lot. It's sometimes just as fun to go and take a look at what people have in the parking lot that they brought here just to come enjoy Expo. Like for instance, take a look at this. If you're into overlanding and old school Toyotas, I'm just out here in the parking lot taking a look at this. Anybody who's interested in it, call that number right there. Boom, boom. Looks like it comes with an ARB awning, lots of LED lighting, nice lift kit, Cooper tires, rooftop tent, spare tire carrier, all sorts of goodies. All in all, I think that's a wrap for me at Overland Expo. I got away without spending much money this year. Got a lot of good ideas, but I'm trying to hold off and save up my money for my Sprinter camper and maybe do a few more things to this beauty right here. So it's time to hit the road. See you at camp. Want some water? My trusty gluten-free oatmeal this morning. Got some sausages for tomorrow morning. Got a tiny bit of almond milk. Sticky little, if you've never used a French press before, which most of you probably have, but it's a nice little device to separate the coffee from the grounds. Good morning. I'm sitting here this morning on top of the Mogollon Rim right above Oak Creek Canyon between Flagstaff, Arizona and Sedona. And I think this is Forest Road 535, I forget, but it's a great road to take to find all sorts of different great camping spots. There's a lot of overlanders up here this morning. I've seen a lot of Tacomas with rooftop tents and Jeeps pulling adventure trailers and expedition trailers. I went yesterday. I don't think I'm going to go today. I'm just going to relax here in the forest, and then maybe tonight camp down in the desert outside of Sedona. I think I had my fill of the Overland experience as is described by Overland Expo. Just eating my breakfast here. Woke up this morning, slept in. My buddy Brian got up in the morning, must have packed up his stuff and taken off. Probably heading back to the valley, maybe do a little bit of exploring today or something. I'm sure Aaron is already on his way over to Overland Expo this morning, so it's just me and the pup out here today, and it's an absolutely beautiful day. The sun is shining really bright. It's probably already in the 50s. Probably had an overnight low of probably about 38 to 40 degrees. I'm just going to chill today. So a lot of you more detail-oriented folks might be asking yourself, why is he mixing up powdered coconut milk when he's got almond milk? And there's a good reason for that. As you saw, my cooler isn't that large, and I don't like to bring a big cooler. And so I will buy one of these tiny little almond breezes in order to mix with my coffee and maybe add a little bit of flavor to some of my breakfast. But this coconut milk powder, if I just add some water to that creates a lot more milky flavor, and I don't have to keep a big jug of milk in my little cooler or bring a bigger cooler in order to be able to hold on to the milk. So one of the things I did before I went on this trip was purchase all new video production equipment. And I'm really big on keeping things very compact. So I don't have any big DSLR cameras or anything like that. So the first thing I did is I went out and bought an iPhone X, and I've wanted one for quite some time. They've got such great audio and great video. I thought that would be a great option for me, and I had already picked out a whole bunch of accessories to add to the iPhone in order to be able to do this filming. And I thought I'd take a minute to show those to you now. The first thing I did after I purchased the iPhone X is I went out and bought a Moment iPhone case. And the reason I bought this is because they've got a really innovative lens mounting system. As you can see here, there's some circular areas with little tabs, and it's designed basically so that you can insert one of the lenses and you turn it 90 degrees, a click, and it locks the lens right into the iPhone. And so that's a really cool method for being able to attach different lenses. Now, the lenses that I decided to purchase, I bought a wide angle and a telephoto. These are just really, really high quality lenses. They're very heavy. This is the wide angle. And as you can see, there's little tabs on the back, and those little tabs basically go in there and twist. The telephoto also, this one here, really does a really great job of allowing me to see further distances and keep things sharp without having to use the digital zoom. The next thing I purchased was this little guy. This is called a square jellyfish, and this thing here is a really quick mount for your iPhone. It mounts to pretty much any tripod. I'll probably get a couple of those so I can keep those mounted to different tripods. I got an extra lens cap just in case I lose one. The next thing I purchased was this really high quality digital stereo microphone by Shure. And it comes with this nice durable case. It's S-H-U-R-E. You plug that baby right into the bottom of your iPhone. As you can see here, it's your typical mount for plugging into your power on the bottom of your iPhone. Then I purchased this little dead cat, which is something you slip over the top of your microphone to help reduce wind noise. Then I got myself an extra cable here. So when I'm running my iPhone and making longer videos, I generally tend to plug it into this Gear Aid Flux, which, by the way, is also an LED light, and that's mounted to a RAM magnetic base that has all sorts of great adjustability. And then you basically just plug your iPhone into USB for power, and this thing will power your iPhone quite a few times. I've got this trusty shorter tripod that does extend. I also use this as a selfie stick. I got this at a rummage sale when I was in high school. Thing's just indestructible. I also did buy another tripod that's coming in. And then I got this Joby adjustable tripod also that's got a nice leveling kit on it. And this thing can wrap around just about anything. Good quality video, has a lot of different angles. And so this will give me that opportunity to have those angles. And then lastly, I've got this Eagle Creek case that I keep all of this equipment in. So really, this thing is so small. I mean, look at the size of my hand. It's not that much bigger. And all of my filming, audio, video equipment fits right in there. So there you go. All right, I've got everything all packed up at my camp here. I'm going to head down the rim into Oak Creek Canyon on the 89A into Sedona. On the way down the rim, I generally like to stop at a natural spring that's right along the shoulder of 89A and fill up my water bricks. I thought maybe I'd stop there and show you that so that next time you're coming from Flagstaff down to Sedona, you too can stop there and get yourself some fresh spring water. Alright, we're heading down Oak Creek Canyon. A lot of cyclists going up today. For those of you who've never been to Oak Creek Canyon, it's just really an extraordinary little place between what I would call the high desert and the Colorado Plateau and the pine trees and forests. And you get a pretty significant ecological transformation between the two. Different climate zones and different flora and fauna. So as we drop down out of the ponderosa pine forest, we head into the scrub oaks and sycamores and cottonwood trees. So as you're coming down the canyon, just before you get to Pine Flat Campground on the right-hand side, which would be the west side of the road, there's this awesome spring, and it's just running 24/7, 7 days a week. Always gotta love a beautiful drive through Oak Creek Canyon. You know, one of the things I love about having a YouTube channel is that lately I've been going places and people have been coming up to me and saying, "Hey, aren't you that guy with the Subaru that I saw on YouTube?" I was at a nightclub, restaurant, rooftop bar in Central Phoenix about a week ago, and a guy sat down at a table right across from me, and he came over and he said, "Do you have a Subaru?" I said, "Yeah." He goes, "Does it have a rooftop tent?" And I said, "Yeah." He goes, "Oh, I go on your YouTube channel all the time." Well, what's really kind of funny is when I was sitting there filling up my water jugs, this guy named Jordan walked up and started asking me questions about my Subaru, and I mentioned to another guy that was standing there with us that I had a YouTube channel, and Jordan said, "Hey, actually, I've seen your channel." So it's the second time in the last 2 weeks that I've had people tell me that they've been on my channel, which is pretty cool. I always get really positive encouragement from people to keep doing it, so that's what I'm going to do. Well, drop down into Sedona. Of course, the weather here is quite a bit warmer. It's probably in the high 80s, maybe even 90 degrees right now. Out here with the pup, she's panting a little bit, but on a beautiful hike on the northwest side of Cathedral Rock, we're going to go for a little swim in Oak Creek down here. It's a real nice hike. I've been coming here for about 25 years. Dropping down into the cottonwoods and sycamores. Beautiful shady spot. We're walking right along the creek now, right below Cathedral. A little bit further down this trail you hit the Oak Creek, and on the other side of the creek is Buddha Beach. So this is beautiful Oak Creek. Telltale signs of red rock. The bottom of the creek is lined with red sediment. This creek starts up on the Mogollon Rim, right near where I camped last night. It flows down through Oak Creek Canyon, collects red rock sediment, continues right through here, which is just above Red Rock State Park, and then on down to the confluence with the Verde River. And eventually, when it flows into the Verde River, which I think starts up in Sycamore Canyon or somewhere up along the Mogollon Rim over by Cottonwood, but eventually the Verde River, which is considered a wild river, flows down through the lower desert. A lot of different mountain ranges for many, many miles. There are a number of places that I like to overland to, including Sheep's Bridge, which are really nice spots along the Verde River. Eventually, Verde River flows into Bartlett Lake. I've definitely filmed from Bartlett Lake before, doing some paddleboarding. And then it continues on down and eventually passes through the Fort McDowell Indian Reservation and then merges with the Salt River. And then most of the water is then stored away for the city of Phoenix. But for the length of the river from Cottonwood all the way down to Bartlett Lake, it's considered a wild river, and a lot of people paddle that, and it's a multi-day paddle. It's just a beautiful place, and you do have to portage a few times. There's some waterfalls. A lot of places the Verde River flows through a lot of brush, so you have to be really careful. So people scout the river before they continue down oftentimes. But this is Arizona, and a lot of people don't realize Arizona is just so beautiful and green and has some wonderful waterways. You know, Sedona is a very interesting place. There is absolutely no shortage of single women here on a spiritual journey. In fact, I have a lot of female friends here that are just that. And no offense to any of them, but it's almost funny how many you come across. In fact, when I was filling up my water, a woman saw me talking to my camera, so she asked me if I had a YouTube channel, and I was talking to her a little bit, and I asked about her, and she said she's from Phoenix, and that she had just moved to Sedona 3 weeks ago. She had a spiritual awakening, and she was up here trying to figure out what that's all about. And you know, I come across that a lot. And being a spiritual individual myself, somebody I would consider to be a very spiritual person. You know, I wrote a book on spirituality and nature. It's not hard for me to come across people who are on that similar path, and more often than not, it's females. But that's Sedona. I have a friend that told me once that if you live in Sedona, you either have 3 jobs or 3 homes. Those are the types of people that live here. A lot of the people that come here on a spiritual journey don't really have the funds to truly live here, so they've got to hold down 2 or 3 jobs, and then what they came here for, that peaceful spiritual experience, kind of goes away. And a lot of the wealthier people who have a home here, that have multiple homes, they don't really mix in with the community people here, so it's a bit of a transient place, to be honest. I've spent a lot of time here. But it's a beautiful, beautiful place, nonetheless, and the scenery is very mesmerizing, and the sounds of the creek are extraordinary, and it's just it's a wonderful place to be. Well, folks, I'd say this is a wrap. Had a really nice time up at Overland Expo. Did some solo camping, hung out with my friend Brian. I did a little bit of swimming here in Oak Creek, played around with the pup, and it's been a really nice time. Hope you enjoyed yourselves. I look forward to having you come back and watch our next video, which will probably be sometime in the next couple of weeks. As I've told you in the past, I've got a couple of really great experiences coming up that I'll be capturing on film. So until then, thanks again for tuning in, and we'll talk to you again soon. Take care.